Welcome to FIRSTAR Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by FIRSTAR Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's FIRSTAR Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Special session this afternoon. We'll get this one out by podcast. Friend, colleague, mentor, all of the things. A family member, my brother, Jason Dowse, is with us today on FIRSTAR Let's Chat. He is the founder, the creator of Epic, EPOCH. For those of you that haven't checked it out, make sure you do so on the website, yourepic.com. @live.epic is the Instagram handle, and this podcast is Your Epic Life. Jason, let's go down history to start this thing off. And you and I met in university, had an opportunity to connect a little bit there. We lost touch for a little bit, reconnected again in the Blue Jays organization. Haven't lost touch ever since, and things have certainly changed since being in the dugout and beside each other for hours and hours a day. Let's start off with Epic and kind of what that means. You know, that definition is huge, and I think really starts things off to get this conversation going.
James, well, first off, thanks for having me on this platform. Really excited to be able to share this story and converse with you and for all your listeners out there. But yeah, thanks for that heartfelt introduction. I feel the same, consider you a family member, brother. And it's funny how these interactions will happen through your life, right? Whether it's 10 or 15 years ago, you make a connection, interact with somebody, and then by some force or some means, some manner, you're able to connect again. And here we are today, some years later. But for me to kind of give this a short story version, the expedited version, is epic means, the definition I like the most is a distinctive period of time in someone's life of significant importance. So if we think about that now, how can you apply that to your life, to your situation? What has happened in your life where you've kind of threw up your hands and said, okay, enough is enough. I need to make some changes. I'm going to work on transforming my life in some capacity. So that's kind of where that came about. And it came about from my personal life exploding pretty much. To get to the point is working in professional sport, you're away from home for such a long period of time. I mean, you know how difficult that is when you have family back home. And one day that just kind of all blew up. And I was at this fork in the road, and I literally remember visualizing this. It was like a country road, trees all around. Okay, I can go to the left and just kind of bury myself and go back to work and just kind of ignore everything that happened and blame it on the other person and blah, 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 find excuse, insert excuse here. Mm-hmm. Or I can go this unknown way. I can step away from what contributed to me getting here. I can work on some things in myself, and I can work on just being a better version of myself. So as scary as it was, that's the road I chose, is that unknown path. And as scary as it was, and as hard as it was at times, it's led me to this moment right here. And every single aspect, if we look back in the past, has been worth it, because it got me here today to have this conversation with you.
Yeah. So instead of opting left, you went right and found the right path at the same time. It's an amazing sort of journey of personal experience, and right being correct, or right being the direction. Here we are, and you followed it. It's taken you to some amazing places. You just have this knack for talking with people and sharing people's stories through the podcast. Obviously, our friendship and relationship has grown over time. And that definition, that distinctive period of time in someone's life, a period of importance, is everybody's right now. And I think what a critical time to get this messaging out to people and just showcase just how important everybody's story is, and what's going on in the world right now. Like, we just transitioned into schools closing after being open, and you probably just heard in the background, like, we have kindergarten going on here, lots of things going on, and here's life, right? And here is this very distinctive period for humanity, and this bubbling up or boiling over of all of these issues coming to the surface through a pandemic, or it's just highlighting what's already been there and now surfacing. And this rising up of consciousness, I think, begins with introspective learning, with that going within. So Epic, I have a hat on. I had the protein shake this morning, and I think, like, these messages, not to sell your product for you, because I don't think it needs that. But the messaging, the logo, the flavor, the purity of the protein product, this isolate, this whey isolate that you've now produced, kettlebells, clubs, like, all of these things are tools in this journey and in this path. So let's start there, because I know you and I, we talk on a regular basis, and we talk about a lot of things philosophically, approaches. You talked me out of my tree a number of times, whether that was while we were away together or separate in these times. And so these products are high quality products, and they're reflective of exactly what it is that you're doing, but at the same time, they serve as tools towards that path for others. So let's go there. Where did that come from? I mean, we were working together, for context for the listeners out there. Like, we were working together in a pro space, which is sort of the apple of the eye for a lot of us in the performance space. That is the job that everybody wants. And then all of a sudden we look back and we're saying, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. And now I'm helping so many other people. Wherever you want to take that, I want to put it out there, because I have your kettlebells to my right. I have the clubs right beside them. The protein is absolutely phenomenal. And yes, I know you, but at the same time, these are unmatched products. And so, jump on board there, and let's go down sort of that tools of the trade, not only for yourself, but how this might impact others too.
Yeah, no, and thanks for that ringing endorsement. And that's what we set out to create, is not just a quote unquote shitty product that's already been out there, but something that's really going to help someone in their transformation. So if we back up a little bit, so when I stepped away from the position that I had, I was wrestling with this idea of having to make this phone call for like 2-3 weeks to call my boss and say, hey, this is the direction I'm going. I'm not going to come back. Like, literally something you work your entire life for, something you consider a dream job. You're there, you're on your way, so to speak. And then you have to totally step away and remove yourself from it, right? There's lots to unpack there in terms of fear and unknown and what have you. But once I did that, it was almost like a weight was lifted off of me. For the previous few off seasons before that, I had been able to establish my own little training space where I was able to work with local athletes in the community and kind of give back to them, help them become better versions of themselves, to not just become a better athlete, better baseball player, whatever the sport was they were doing, but learn about developing themselves as a young athlete. So not just walking into the room, not saying anything to anybody and going right to your program, but walking in, making eye contact, saying hello to everybody in the room. So grew that business quite a bit. And that was the avenue I wanted to go. So during that time, a lot of parents and adults and friends of mine were reaching out saying, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to jump into an exercise program. I'm like, okay, well, this is also the culmination of me taking inventory of my life and realizing that my sleep wasn't good. I was completely stressed out because my life just exploded. I didn't really eat very well. I was training regularly, but I didn't have these other aspects into play. So that's where I realized, okay, like, through my own realization and now taking account of these in my life, is that if I just throw you into an exercise program 3-4 days a week without taking these things into consideration, this may not be the best case for you, right? You're not sleeping, you're stressed out, you're eating like crap, blah, 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 insert reasoning here. So that's really what led to the creation of this brand, is realizing, okay, I want to help impact and reach so many more people, not just athletes, not just this specific clientele, but every single person out there who's looking to make a change in their life. And whether that's through inspiration, whether it's through actionable information, or whether it's through physical tools, that's what I wanted to create. So if we look at the club, so having experience in professional baseball and being through some workshops where we use this tool that's been around for hundreds and if not thousands of years, it's just kind of come back into popularity, much like a cast iron kettlebell, but utilizing this and thinking like, okay, wow, my shoulders feel really great. Like this is a range of motion that we don't get exposed to very often, right? So how can we get that out to people? Say it's a desk worker who's sitting at a desk 8 hours a day and they don't get into this range of motion with their shoulders. Now they can have this tool and test it out and see how that feels. And the same thing with the protein, right? This market is full of stereotypical muscle juice 5000s, but that's not what we wanted to create. We wanted to create something with minimal ingredients that had a great nutritional profile that is actually from a verified grass-fed source. Doesn't just say grass-fed on it like a lot of products do. It's low, it doesn't have added sugar, it doesn't have all these certain things, it doesn't have soy lecithin, which can be an irritant and an allergen for a lot of people, but as good a clean a product that is going to help you with your nutritional intake throughout the day. Like I said, this is Muscle Juice 5000. This is just a food to supplement in your life throughout your day. If you can't have access to that high quality protein, this is a food supplement to help you get that in at that certain point.
Yeah, no, I think this is amazing. And again, you and I have lots of dialogue outside of this, and to sort of summarize or formalize, maybe this 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours, however long we stay on this call, may not justify it all, but those messages are so clear that those are tools, those are supplements, literally in this case, but also supplements to lifestyle and supplements to overall health. And it just kind of, I was going to hold this one off, but let's play it as it lies. The post that I put up yesterday on my Instagram account, was very much like it stated, meditation is not the answer. Olympic lifts are not the answer. The latest therapeutic treatment is not the answer. And that's with regards to openness to receive and willingness to explore. And the idea with that post isn't that all of these things are wrong. In fact, quite the opposite, but that there is no one singular answer out there, because it lies in the moment and in the thing that we're doing and the things that resonate. This is a very holistic approach on your side of things, lifestyle wellness, right? Like overall approaches, and through that, I mean, we can go back and discuss that post, but I think there's more to it than that. What are the common things that you navigate with clients, with athletes? Are there common themes, or are they very individualized, or are there some things that overlap? Sleep sucks, and then you go in and you dive in, and people say like, well, I can't put my phone away because. Are there common themes that you've found to this point working with people on lifestyle that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot there to unpack, but I can break this down from kind of my personal standpoint, and then kind of what we're seeing, right? Is it doesn't matter if it's you, an athlete you're working with, a general clientele person. We want to get caught up in what's sexy, what's the most sophisticated thing out there, what's the trend, what's the buzz thing, and we want to jump into that, right? And I've been guilty of it many, many times, but it was only when I dialed all that back and looked at, okay, it's literally, for me, it started with two things. Started with getting a Fitbit and realized like, whoa, my sleep sucks. I'm inconsistent. I'm not getting near as much sleep as I thought I was. And then two, kind of before my life blew up, I was dabbling in meditation. Was never really consistent with it. Like most things in my life, I would do it here, I would do it there, but just kind of dipping my toes in the water, so to speak. So going back to what I started with is that it's very easy for us to get caught up in all the information that's out there. Information is not the limiting factor anymore. We have access to more information than we've ever had in history. Mm-hmm. We carry these wizard devices around in our pocket where we can literally look anything up at any point in time and find reason for it, find ways to justify it, and find ways that are reasons that why we should do it. Excuse me. But what most of us actually need in order to feel better or make that change or make any kind of transition in our life is what's going to be most applicable or actionable to you. Okay. If you realize that your sleep isn't great, going out and getting a Whoop for yourself just to track it and see it without making any actual change may not be the best place to start, or any kind of tracker or wearable. It may just be like, we had Kelly Surratt on a recent podcast, and he talked about just not even worried about putting the device down, but just allowing yourself to go to bed 30 minutes earlier, right? If you add that up every night for the course of 2 weeks, you just slept a whole extra night. Right. So you think about how many people say, oh, I want to sleep more, but insert excuse here. But it's not about making the excuse or finding the grandiose plan. It's finding something that's actionable for you.
Yep.
What is actionable for you? And to back that up a little bit further, the first step, so we say there's 3 steps. So first, you have to have awareness. You have to have awareness of where that area is, or what that thing is that you want to transform or change in your life. Once you have the awareness, now you need the actionable step. Okay. It doesn't have to be a 30-step process that's you're going to do for 6 months and not miss a day, because that's not going to set you up for success. It's what can you do today in the simplest fashion that's going to allow you to garner momentum. Okay. Because now if you do it for a day, it's pretty easy. You're able to do it for 2, 3, 4 days, a week, a month. Tell me what that feels like after 30 days, right? Significant improvement.
Mm-hmm.
The third, the most crucial piece, arguably, is that aspect of accountability, because our mind's a master negotiator. Something's going to happen. Life's going to interrupt. We're going to have a celebration, and we're going to throw that plan to the side. And we're like, oh, well, I'll pick it up here. And then we don't. And then we find reasons of why it didn't work, because there's no aspect of accountability there. So we kind of need those 3 pieces in order to enact any change or any transformation, whatever it is you're looking to do.
Yeah, and as you talk through those 3 steps, they seem quite simple, but at the same time, I as you're walking through them, I'm going back and looking at the time that we spent in university together. You know, we both were at Brock University. I'm looking at my time spent identifying as an athlete. My time spent with a primary identifier as an athletic therapist or strength coach or whatever title you want to hang at the end of your name or at the front of your name.
Yeah.
And none of those things were present. You know, it was a blur. It was just wake up, coffee, lift, field, gym, field, training room, coffee, Red Bull, eat, protein shake, and so on. And it became very much a blur. And so take it back to step 1, and awareness becomes the entry point. So as we take the pause to become aware, tips, tools, tricks, anything like that that you'd like to add, and I don't mean them as tricks or tips, but simply, how do we find that? You know, how do we find that awareness? Is that a coming of age? Is that a maturity thing? Is that somebody beating us over the head with meditation or mindfulness or some terminology out there? Or is it quite literally experiential?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few ways we can find it, right? A couple of them won't be the best method to discover it. Usually it can be as a result of a trauma, right? Or a health condition, or your personal life exploding, like in my case. Otherwise, I would probably still be on that path of just going from one thing to the next in consecutive pattern for however many years. It's just the trap of busyness, the trap of distraction. I have to go from here to here to here. But it comes down to like just thinking about it. Like if you have time where you can just kind of sit with your thoughts, and this isn't meditation, this isn't like trying to force mindfulness or yoga or whatever insert these terms on you. It's just being able to sit with your thoughts and think about, okay, what do you want in your life? What do you want to do? What do you want to create? What would you like to change if you could right now in your personal life? Right. And I really think that's where it comes from. And to do that proactively as opposed to reactively, and when something happens, it's going to be, you may not take it as serious at the time because you may not be putting those 3 things into play, but it will give you a head start where you don't have to worry about the reaction that comes from it being forced upon you, because by that point you may not be able to be in a position where you're able to change or influence it as optimally as you would hope.
Yeah, no, beautiful. And I don't mean to minimize the impact of meditation or mindfulness. I believe holistically
No,
approaching
do I.
all of these things, but they are pieces that us as practitioners, us as human beings need to be open to receive, right? There can't be barriers to entry there. There can't be resistance. The person who is employing strategies must be open and ready and willing to take those on, right? It's funny. I read this morning, we went out for an early morning walk, right? School's canceled, come back home, sit on the porch, reading a book, flip open a page, start reading, and find this answer to the question of which path is right. Which path is right? And it was talking to a monk, and the monk answers Sabek, which is like Hindi for they're all one. So no matter what path you take, no matter what preferences you take, you just need to choose it and plunge in all the way in.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you want, just start doing the things that you feel take you to that thing, right? Or are that thing. And so I think these are amazing sort of things and amazing tools, that awareness piece as we transition into actionable thing taking into obviously like daily or consistency, and then finally that accountability piece. What are we answering to, and maybe why are we doing what we're doing? These are critical points. And so day-to-day living in a pandemic, there's been this shift away from the gym space, right? The availability of equipment, the availability of personal interaction, and we cannot deny social interaction in person. Me and you in the same room having a conversation holds different weight than you and I talking two-dimensionally through a screen right now. But it's also opened the doors to virtual and to finding actionable steps without the dependence on those other pieces. And this is a part for me, is like that external locus of control moving internal, right? So as you're dealing with professional athletes, human beings in general, doesn't even matter, let's strip away titles, another human being, what have you found in terms of kickstarting? Like what are the things that people stumble with to get to consistency? Is it starting something and not seeing immediate results because they're shoved down our throat on social media every day? Is it all of those things? I don't want to lead your answer, but just to sort of where have you found stumbling blocks with people or with yourself?
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit to my own. What really led me down this path was meditation. So I don't mean to downplay it or dismiss it in any way, shape, or form. But what led me to it was simply curiosity, and it came from listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast. I've been a big fan of his work, and on one of those episodes, this is like 2015 or early 2016, he said that something like 80 to 85% of his interviews on that podcast, all of those quote unquote top performers or high performers, had some form of meditation or mindfulness practice. And that hit me kind of like a slap to the face, thinking like, okay, if quote unquote the best in the world are doing this, there has to be something to it. So that's what led to me to downloading Headspace and thinking like, okay, I'm going to try and carve this out. And like I said, in 2016, maybe I did it 5 times throughout the entire year, here and there. But as hard as it is to get started, you start to become aware of like, hey, this is a little different. I'm not as reactive as I usually would be. It's like things have slowed down, for lack of a better terminology. And then it was when my personal life blew up. I'm like, okay, I need to change things up here. I need to interrupt the pattern. And I talked about this quite a bit, but my pattern typically come home in the off season, I'd wake up, whatever time, no consistency in that, flip on the TV and watching sports highlights, drinking coffee after coffee, and scrolling on my phone. I'm like, okay, if this is the start of my day, I need to change this. If I can change this, that's going to change like water flowing in a stream. I'm going to put something and kind of veer the course of it, right? So that's when I switched into being able to challenge myself. Okay, I'm going to do a 5 or 10 minute Headspace session each and every day. And it was through that period in 2017 when I was home in an empty house by myself, where I created this new change, this new momentum. And that's really what led to all these other things, because I was able to look back in the day and the time and the week and notice a significant difference. I'm like, okay, I've changed the course of this. So we think for everyone who's dealing with things now, is whatever it is, you have to find the time, or you have to find the easiest point of entry where you can create that change in your life. And maybe it is in the morning. Maybe it's not waking up and scrolling Instagram and looking at the latest COVID posts or the news headlines coming at you, because maybe that's triggering you for the rest of your day. Maybe it's going for a walk in the morning. Maybe it's doing something differently in a slight, subtle fashion that can help you kind of move forward in that direction. And going back to what you said about community, for sure, we're all missing that. And working with a lot of amateur and high school athletes myself, I've seen how much that has impacted them, even just in terms of their responses over the last, let's say, year, right? We had in Toronto area, we had 2 weeks basically where training was open in early November with limited capacities, and we've been shut ever since.
Yep.
Right. So even in communication with these athletes, these young athletes, many of who are going to college in a few months, they've totally lost this training window. They've totally lost their last year of high school, whatever it is. We've all lost something, but it's creating significant change in them, right? So it's so easy to get caught up in this idea of just being consumed by negativity, and then rather than face that thing we want to change, we'll distract ourselves, right? Like, look at the sales of alcohol are through the roof. Look at the rates of all these different things that have increased during this time, because we're just so caught up and constantly being distracted. And now once those distractions are removed, things are changing, and we're not finding things to put in place of that, if that makes sense in some way, shape, or form. But to cut the story short here is you have to find whatever it is that you can implement in a simple fashion and just test it out. It doesn't have to be, like we said, it doesn't have to be something you're doing for an hour every day, 7 days a week for the next 3 months. What can you do right now to get you started? Notice what you feel after, and just try it out again. And try it out again. If it doesn't work, adjust it a little bit, but you have to give it time to marinate and grow a little bit. So I don't know if that answers the question directly, but
I think it answers it in so many ways, and giving it the space, giving it the time, letting it grow sort of semi-organically, but also knowing that like nothing of value is going to happen immediately, right? Nothing of longevity is going to happen in an instant. It has to be built. There has to be a foundation that's built and scaffolded upon. But that piece of acknowledging, and again, that's step number one that you touched on, of that awareness of like taking let's say taking ownership of, and I don't want to say control because I don't think that's the right term, but awareness and reflection of the mind, right? And so instead of letting the thoughts and the habits control you, you're creating space enough to be aware of those habits, right? That scroll, that one drink that turns into two at the end of the day, that falling asleep with your phone in your hand instead of a book, or instead of lying in stillness and allowing the thoughts to sort of flow and happen as they happen. We all as human beings have a mind, like, and some of us are more aware of it than others. Some of us are controlled by thoughts in different ways, and at different times of the day. That's the human, the human condition. When it comes to physical performance space, I don't think you and I can look at it the same anymore. Like, it's no longer the physical performance space because there's so much more to it. It's an entangled set of subsystems that we can't even really call systems because they're so deeply ingrained and integrated and entangled amongst one another. But in that physical performance space, going back, like, let's say at baseball, my own personal reflection on that now is it was very much trying to harness the greatest physical potential, right? Like, how do we get that shoulder to be better 3 days faster than it would if we didn't? Or, quicker, better, stronger, faster, whatever those things are. Can we actually do that without tapping into the mind, like without the mental component of things? Because as you say, awareness, action, and accountability, I use the language of awareness, attention, and intention, which essentially are the same things. Like, we need to be aware in order to become attentive to the thing that either needs to change or needs to continue to happen. And then we need to do that thing, perform the actionable piece with intent. It needs to be directed. It needs to be focused. is that, I mean, that's an obvious blend with Epic, right? With what you're doing is harnessing this into lifestyles. Have you found a lot of resistance to the mental piece in some athletes that haven't, spoken to, let's call it mindfulness or meditation or some of these practices? Has there been any resistance with that in your workings?
I mean, yes and no. There's always going to be individual cases that are completely different, right? There's such variety and variability amongst human beings. It doesn't matter if it's a professional athlete, it doesn't matter if it's a high school kid, it doesn't matter if it's an adult client that's looking to feel better. But
Yeah.
it comes down to really just understanding, and we can go back to your perception on things. Like maybe this athlete can eat Twinkies and drink 4 nights a week and they're the best in the world, right? But that may not be a path that's going to set you up for longevity or sustained success.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same thing we try and help with developing these high school kids, is like, okay, you're going to have to train, right? If you're going to go to college and play the sport and any sport, and these are like setting skills up for life. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to train, you're going to have to study, you're going to have to eat regularly, you're going to have to sleep, you're going to have to do all these things. So if you can start to understand of putting them into place early, creating these actual habits, that's going to set you up for sustained success. And it doesn't matter like if this athlete believes in meditation or mindfulness or whatnot, but if you can ask them, I guarantee you could ask every single one of them, is like, hey, did you visualize getting to this point? How much growing up did you think about this exact point that you're in right now?
Yeah.
I guarantee every single one would be like, I thought about it all the time.
Right.
I visualized it. I saw it. I felt it. And I did the work. And that's the key aspect. So maybe it's not meditation per se or mindfulness per se, but there's a strong visualization element amongst every single high performing athlete, every high school athlete, everyone out there. And this could be applicable to the everyday client as well. You have to visualize what you want your life to look like, and then you can make it happen, right? If we think about everyone who's listening right now, what do you do for your career? What's your life like? Chances are you've thought about that for a significant amount of time through the course of your life. How did that happen? We don't know, really. Is it magic? Is it the universe, quote unquote? Is it woo woo? What is it? But it's something, right? Because every
Exactly.
single one of us can think about that. Like from the time you're in school, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, I want to do this. Okay. Now you've charted your life in that path. You've started to move in that direction. So you can do that now. It's not fixed. You can change the path at any point in time, right? And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to hear these words, these labels, and think, that's not for me. That's a bunch of BS. Just start to think a little bit differently and think about what's led you to here. How did you get here? How could you change it? How could you adjust it? So I think that's applicable to whether it's a high performing athlete, a high school kid, or someone who's just looking to feel better. You can think about all of those elements.
Yeah, absolutely. All of these things are amazing. And if we strip away the label or the name that we're calling something, consistency remains front and center. And availability of resources, other things like your podcast has been absolutely, flooring at times in terms of the guests you've had on and the messages that get delivered and from a performance space, but also from that expertise of knowing who you are as a person, right? Like who you, Jason Dowse, the founder of Epic, like the last guest you had on is Kelly Starrett. I was listening to it this morning, and I listened to Kelly. I have The Supple Leopard right beside me. It's a book that I've relied on in the past, and I asked you, man, like, look at you interviewing one of the one of the top dogs out there in the performance and PT space, and your response was very humble. It was humans talking to humans. And I think this is a piece as well, that as we navigate that job space or that workspace or that professional space, is reaching out to others who are either doing what you think you want to be doing and seeing if they resonate with you, or connecting. And that kind of brings me to my next question of like defining or highlighting what connection is and how that enhances our life. Like, I could sit here and talk to you for hours on this topic and feel like we're in a cave in Tibet as monks. You know what I mean? Because I feel so enlightened and so alive after these types of conversations. Connection goes a long, long way. It's finding resonance in others. You bring your expertise of yourself through sharing your story. So connection is a big part of what you do, understanding yourself. How do you highlight that or bring that out, or what defines connection, or what is connection that we all relate to or with?
One, I think it comes down to just to back up a little bit. I think I don't want to turn this into, like we said before, is you thanking me thanking you, but what you're doing with FIRSTAR Therapy and Let's Chat, what you've done for this athletic therapy, athletic training profession in Canada, not just Canada, but the world, is absolutely huge, because you're exposing, whether it's students or other practitioners, to new ideas, relevant tactics and strategies, and just creating community and connection, which is absolutely huge. So I don't know if this answers the question, but I think that connection just comes down to just being not afraid to throw yourself into new experiences and have these conversations. If you'd have told me last year I'd be talking to Kelly Starrett on a podcast and throwing it out for the world to see, I'll be like, no way, I can't do that because ABC. Yeah, was I nervous going into it? Absolutely. But then you just realize, okay, you're just talking to another human being who has life experiences much like yourself, and really that's all connection is we can't be afraid to share our experiences, right? Because there's someone out there listening right now who may be going through the same thing, or may have experienced the same thing. And to back this up a little bit, is it comes down to really whatever you want to do. I thought I wanted to get into athletic therapy, athletic training, switched gears, got into personal training, and then discovered strength and conditioning. And now that's been a huge aspect of my life, right? But if it wasn't for throwing myself into that fire, so to speak, of being a student trainer and on the volunteer position, I never would have discovered any of this stuff. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there and experience these things. And it can be very intimidating. All the things that are coming at us on social media, so many things are pumped up and fluffed up. And we think like, okay, I can never do that. But you probably can. You just have to try and move in that direction a little bit, right? So experience and connection all comes down to just being able to have these conversations and not be afraid to try things. And I think that a big one that I think we've talked about before is that think about why you do what you do. And it's not about, like, if you're putting content out on social media, this is the early days of Twitter, 2012, 2013, 2014, I was getting caught up in. So we come out of school, we come out of university, and we've got this piece of paper and we think, all right, I'm ready to tackle the world. I'm ready to show the world what's up, what I know. I'm here to fuck things up, so to speak, in a good way. And then we realize, okay, I don't really know anything. There's just experiences that we're kind of molding and traveling in and out of, right? We learn things, we add things, we pick things up, we put things down. And we can't be afraid to do that and to expose ourselves to these things. So if you put content on social media, put it out there to help somebody. Don't put it out there to get in a fight or start an argument on Twitter or Facebook and say, my way is the best way, here it is, because there's enough of that, right? We don't need more of that. But build connection, build experience, show what you're seeing, what are others seeing. And I think that, to go back to where we started, that's what your platform with FIRSTAR Therapy and Let's Chat has done a tremendous job of, is building that connection and building that community where people can have these conversations. And it's not, my technique is masterful, yours sucks. It's like, hey, how can we all learn together and find things that work for us, and maybe they don't, and put those into practice. So
yeah, and I think that interdisciplinary approach, but like with a transdisciplinary sort of overtone, right? Like where it doesn't matter what your title is, if we're speaking the same language, and that language is, let's all get better together, let's all learn, let's all continually grow together, we're going to make an impact. And I appreciate the kind words, and thank you, man. No, thank you, man. That's what it's going to turn it. That's what it's going to turn into at times. We've had a lot of years together, and I've fed off of your support. Hopefully have provided some support for you at the same time. Back and forth we go, and
Absolutely.
I just feel like that's such a huge piece, and that connection piece is part of the platform. What you're doing as well, having people share their stories from different walks of life, and those trials and tribulations, and the hurdles you had to get over to get to where you're at. And I think for the younger listeners out there as well, we have quite a few students that listen in here, at the back end or even the beginning of their career, and they're looking at Jason Dowse on the bench of the Blue Jays and saying, that's the job I want. Like, how did he, like, I want that job. And there's this immediacy to it, right? Of like, I'm going to go from where I am right now, and then I'm going to be in the dugout with the Blue Jays, or insert team or organization or whatever right here. What a lot of people don't see that I absolutely love about the Your Epic Life podcast is that the stumbling blocks along the way are what create the person in the space that they're currently in, and showcasing that as, let's call it, man, let's call it what it is. It's vulnerability as strength. It's putting the vulnerability at the forefront. And then it is acknowledging that there are plenty of steps to get there. It's not just walk into it. And if you go back, like you said, 5, 6, 10 years ago, not a chance. I would tell you, this is what I would be doing. This is what you would be doing. And I think these are all pieces. And as we get to that reflective piece, I'm just going to read from another book, because this is what I do these days, is just read a lot of books. The Embodied Mind, Cognitive Science and Human Experience. If you haven't read it, it's one we all maybe need to, or anybody who's open to reading it needs to. Talking about reflection. So I'll just read this. I know you I don't think you've heard this one before, and let's go off of this because it really resonated, hearing what you just said, and I had this page highlighted. So a change in the nature of reflection from an abstract, disembodied activity to an embodied or mindful, open-ended reflection. By embodied, we mean reflection in which body and mind have been brought together. What this formulation intends to convey is that reflection is not just on experience, but reflection is a form of experience itself. And that reflective form of experience can be performed with mindfulness or awareness. When reflection is done in that way, it can cut the chain of habitual thought patterns and preconceptions such that it can be an open-ended reflection, open to possibilities other than those contained in one's current representations of the life space. We call this form of reflection mindful, open-ended reflection. I don't know. I feel like that just embodies all of the pieces. It's a lot to unpack and break down, but let's go with that one.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful. Like you said, there is a lot to unpack there, but some of the key takeaways and kind of what you led that up into before reading that passage was all of those conversations that we've had, that you've had, that it wasn't until maybe like the fifth or sixth episode we had of that podcast where I realized, holy shit, all of these people have had some form of significant event happen in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back to where we started at the start, they didn't go down that familiar path. They didn't bury their heads in the sand and think, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing and things are going to be different. They went the other way, as scary as it was, but they've significantly transformed their life as a result of that. And I think that comes back to anything we're doing that's habitual. If we want to change it, we have to be able to step out of that familiar comfort, even though it may be uncomfortable, and head towards, this is what Joe Dispenza talks about it all the time, is that unfamiliar discomfort, right? Or that unfamiliar uncomfort, because that's where that change is going to happen. It's not, we know what we're going to expect if we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Right. So we need to be able to reflect and step into that other piece.
Yeah. And it's, I think, if anything, if nothing else, it's identifying the removal from the redundancy, because that can be hard. Both you and I know people who are lifers in the game of baseball, in hockey, in whatever they might be. And it's not to say that they're living a bad life. They're living their best life, and they're fully embodying what they're doing. And then I think that's wonderful as well. But if you're looking for change, you have to remove the redundancy by being open to accepting others' opinions, other information, and hearing, other people's stories. And again, like, your story is yours and you're the expert of it. And I want to just take maybe the last little bit here to walk through your story a little bit more specifically, because I think you hosting that podcast, you hear everybody else's, but whatever you're willing to share with your story and will go a long way for people as well. Because as an expert in the field, as somebody who walks this life as a coach and you know, a strength coach, but more of a holistic lifestyle approach to things now, I think this is massively crucial and critical to hear from you. And so let's take it that way if you're cool with that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, again, like just kind of how and why and where you're at these days with Epic, and we'll go that way. But before we do that, just want to reiterate again, this is a special edition of FIRSTAR Let's Chat. Good friend of mine, a sponsor of the FIRSTAR Let's Chat podcast, Jason Dowse, founder of Epic. Website is Your Epoch, epoch.com, at live.epic, and the podcast Your Epic Life, and amazing product lines out there, but an amazing human being. And have at it, man. Let's walk through your story a little bit.
Thank you again. So if we go back to what you said about anyone working in a career space, this is something I thought about quite a bit in conversation with friends. Is many of my friends who work a job maybe that they don't really like, but they're just waiting until this point in the future that they can get to, and then everything's going to be good. They can retire and they can do the things that they want. And it was so crazy to look back, like this transformative time period for myself was when I got home at the end of the 2017 season. The person that I was living with, that I was married to, was gone. I had an empty house, so to speak. I kind of had to pack up my life, literally move and find a new place to live and a new start. But during this time of 2 to 3 months there, we went out for a friend's birthday. And we're traveling back, and a couple of friends of mine, this is obviously way before COVID hit us, but we're in an Uber, and my buddy was talking to an Uber driver. He's like, man, what would you do if you could wake up and live the perfect day every day? And it was like one of those moments where like time stops, slapped in the face, glass breaks. I'm like, what did he just say? I'm like, that's literally what I've been thinking about for this last however much time. And that really got me started thinking, okay, what do I want for my life? What would my life look like if I woke up and could create the perfect day every day? What would you do? What would the start of your day look like? What would the end of your day look like? What would your relationship look like? What would your career look like? And I think that so many of us, we get, like we talked about earlier, is we get caught up in that program, for lack of a better term, from the time we're in elementary school, and it throws us on this path. And we can't decide that at 10, 12, 13 years old. How are we supposed to do that? Right? We haven't had any experience, and we're just going to dedicate our life to pursuing this one thing.
Right.
But things are going to change. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you love it. And all the power to you if you do. But you can't be afraid to make a change if it doesn't really resonate with you. So I think that was a significant moment for me. And that's really what I've been looking to do. And obviously a big aspect of that is helping people. If you go back to your why, and this is something that resonated with me quite a bit. And I was trying to think, okay, why have I always done what I've done? This is from the time of being a kid and cutting people's lawns, because elderly people in the neighborhood, because they couldn't do it. Yeah, they paid me $6 or $10 back in the day, which to me was a lot of money. Throw it in my sock and I could buy a new baseball glove after a few weeks, right? But so why do you do what you do? Whether it's helping athletes taping ankles and making ice packs as a student intern, it's helping someone who's looking to feel better with personal training, right? Someone who wants to transform life, working with athletes who've been drafted and they want to get to the big leagues, or working with athletes who are in the big leagues and they want to be better. Or it's working with a high school kid who wants to get down that path. Or it's working with someone who just wants to feel better. They want to sleep better. They want to have better relationships and thus a better life. It's my why has always been helping people, right? So if we can merge those two things together, where you can have that perfect day every day and set yourself up for success each and every day and help people along the way, like that's what became my obsession and trying to help as many people in that fashion. And that's what led into the podcast. It's like, if we can have conversations like this, and it literally goes around the world, and if someone listening somewhere takes one piece of it and they can dramatically change their life, it's all worth it. Right. And that's what we're here for. So, and that's kind of my purpose, my path, and my why, so to speak, of what drives me each and every day to do this. So
Yeah, and even that one little subtle change in listening to this podcast, and it can go so far. And just listening to you, I get lit up, and I just want to go down so many pathways. I don't want to keep you too long because I think this has all been amazing, and we'll do this again. I think this can be a recurring theme on
yeah.
here for sure, is just chatting with you and topics of relevance as whatever happens in the world. And I read again something this morning that was like, working hard at something you don't like is stress. That's stress, and negative stress, not just like
Yeah.
the stress so that we take on a regular basis. And talking, your podcast with Kelly Starrett this morning that I was listening to as well. I had done a lot this morning. Holy cow, I need to slow down and do some meditation. But yeah, talking about strain and overload on the body, right, as opposed to the term stress. But regardless, so that working hard at something you don't like is stress in a negative sense, but working hard at something you love is passion. And when we can talk about like passion versus stress, like it's an easy choice. So follow the things that you love, and your message rings true, is like that greater good, a purpose beyond the self. But in summarizing, if it's fair to say, it's a purpose beyond the self that starts with the self and
Yeah.
taking care of you. And so if there is one little bit that we can do in our time, however long or short that is, it's that enhancement of the self, because once we enhance the self and recognize the potential from within, we can see it in others and in communities and in globally, right?
Yep. And I want to touch on what you said right there, because this was in my mind earlier today, and I wanted to bring it up because I actually had to have that conversation. And when I stepped away from things, and this is for any practitioner listening, right? Like we're all in these varying professions because we want to help people in some capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't help anybody else. And this goes back to the airplane analogy where they tell you to put your oxygen mask on before anyone else. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to help anybody. And that's actually what I said in that phone conversation I was dreading for 2 or 3 weeks, is that I can't, if I don't take care of myself right now, I'm useless, because I can't go back and be in the same position as I was this season. And I apologize to many athletes that I work with in 2017, just because I wasn't in a good spot. Like I was trying to manage and just get to that finish line where I could get home and fucking try and pick up the pieces of my life and throw them in a bag and move on to where I was heading next. And that's really what we have to do, is if we don't take care of ourselves, we're useless for anybody else that we're trying to help with, right? So whether that's you giving yourself some more time in the morning to power yourself up, right? We always talk about, we freak out when our smartphone gets to 10% battery, like where's the charger, but we'll constantly run ourselves in the redlining ourselves constantly, right? So if you can think about powering yourself up in the morning, or giving yourself a little more time to wind down at night, bookending that day, it's going to put you in a better position for the next day. And now you've created momentum, and it's just going to keep rolling. And like Kelly said on that podcast, like rinse, wash, repeat for a decade, and let me know how that goes, right? So just get started in whatever aspect it is. Take inventory of your life, take inventory of yourself, find whatever that thing is, and just find the easiest point of entry where you can just kind of get the ball rolling, knock over that first domino, and see what happens from there. But it has to start with you. And I think that's a big aspect of the message that you guys are putting out with FIRSTAR Therapy. It's all about you, right? So it starts with you. Everything's about you. You can't help anyone else if you don't take care of yourself.
Absolutely well said. And I don't think we need to go much further than that, other than to talk about, let's wrap this thing up with some of the things you got going on. You said, obviously, we're in a lockdown again here in Ontario. Another announcement coming this afternoon. This is a pandemic. That's a reality. There's a lot of unknowns. The knowns are controlling the controllables and all the other cliched things that become realities when we're living them. And then we have to have strategies to cope with those. Some of those strategies, the kettlebells you got working, the clubs, the protein products. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I know this is shifting gears dramatically from sort of some of the philosophical and value-driven discussion that we've had, but also critical parts of is to have Not necessarily solutions, but tools for your toolbox, and these are
Yep.
some good ones. So talk about your products a little bit, and where we can find all of these things.
Exactly like you said, physical tools, right? Where we live here in Ontario, the weather's getting nice, everything's being shut down. But a kettlebell is such a versatile tool, right? There's so many different exercise variations you can do with it. You can take it outside. You don't need a squat rack. You don't need your machines, your elliptical. You can move your body. You can do whatever you want. You can get totally creative, and all you need is the open space or the space in your own home or your own living space, right? And these are right now we have we sold out pretty quickly of the 12 and 16 kilo weights. We have 8 kilos available. We have a few 24s left, a couple 28s, and 32 kilos available. And that's it for our initial stock. Some more will be in stock in the coming months. But the last couple of days, as things have ratcheted up here in Ontario, there's been a pretty big demand on that. And what we're finding is a lot of people don't want to pay for shipping, right? We're used to the Amazon effect where we can just go online, buy something, we get shipping for free. But unfortunately, as a small business, it doesn't work that way, right? The shipping costs, especially with something of significant weight, are costly, right? So we have to, but we found a measure where we use a shipping company that shops all the best rates among all the big carriers in the country, and they will give you the best rate. So that's what we're trying to give back to everybody in that regard.
Hey, and let me jump in just for a second, because that's the other side of this, is like small businesses for small businesses. It's like you're Canadian, you're in Canada, you're in Ontario. Like, yes, Amazon is a thing. Yes, immediacy is a thing. Yes, you need it yesterday, but here we can support each other by supporting each other. Quite literally, you're going to buy kettlebells. Why not buy them from somebody who's in the same boat as you, and small business, Canadian, great human being, and a great product. Again, like I've thrown these things around for the last couple months here, and starting to really enjoy them. And now that the nice weather is out there, I'm going to throw them around some more, and hopefully get I don't know, back to some of that Bahamian tan from outside when the sun breaks through again. But yeah, no, absolutely. And sorry to interject. I just think that that's a piece that I haven't touched on. And from the outset, this is something that needs support. I need to support you. You need to support me. This is how community also builds in a different way. And so please, anybody listening out there that's looking for things, a new product to try, product that is guaranteed to do what it's claims to do, this is it. So continue. Yeah, we did the kettlebells.
Yep. And then the same thing with the protein, right? We set out to make something that mixes well, tastes great, and has minimal ingredients in it, right? You can look at the label of, maybe you have a tub right now, maybe you have some kind of supplement at home. Just look at the label and look at the list of ingredients on there, right? Do you know what all those are? How many are on there, right? So we set out to make something that's literally made right down the road here in Ontario. We source our grass-fed material from Ireland, which is unique. So typically, grass-fed material comes from either New Zealand or Ireland is now growing, because Ireland has a unique global system in which those animals have to be outside for a certain number of days. A lot of restrictions that Irish dairy farmers have to abide by, which if we think about, so I don't want to go off on a tangent, but if we think about where do we get energy from, right?
Yeah.
The sun hits a plant or grass, an animal will consume that, or we consume that. We break down that energy from the sun, and that thus fuels us, right? So would you not want a product that's basically coming a couple steps removed from that sun point, as opposed to some kind of manufactured feed that's thrown into a bucket? These things are in feedlots, and they don't have a very good life. We talk about energy and how things move. We want something that's free ranging, it's outdoors, it's in open spaces, and it's getting its fuel right from the sunlight hitting the ground that it's standing on, right? So that's a better product, better environment for the animal, better product for us overall. And obviously it's going to sound silly coming from me, but I think this is the best protein I've ever tried in my life in terms of the thing, the recipe, the formula, the taste, how well it mixes, the nutrient profile. It's unbelievable. And what we're doing through April is that with percentage of proceeds from sale of this protein, we're giving back to a company called Youth Mental Health Canada, which is a nonprofit charity organization that's helping youth right now navigate the difficulties around mental health, especially through a pandemic. But overall, they're really an amazing company that's putting out a lot of resources and having a place for youth to go and discuss the mental health challenges and just provide them resources. So that's something that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, as you should be. Amazing guy, amazing company, doing amazing things and sharing back to community. Again, central piece of what you're doing. I'll back that up. Easily the best protein that I've tasted. Mix it
Thank
with
you.
anything and try to post some of those recipes. I get a little creative with them at times, but
As
no,
you should. Yeah.
yeah. No chalky residue, none of that stuff, and just no bad taste left over. Just honestly easy to mix into everything and tastes fantastic. We've gone vanilla, we've gone chocolate, and both extremely high quality. So for that endorsement as well, please feel free to reach out to myself. I'm happy to talk about the product to my knowledge of it and my use of it, and obviously Jason is accessible too. So the kettlebells, the protein, obviously the two latest products, and I think you have a discount code at checkout right now with FIRSTAR as well. So anybody picking up this podcast, FIRSTAR at checkout for the protein product.
Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. This has been an amazing discussion, an amazing chat as always. A special edition with a really special guy, a really special point, really special person at various points of my life, but so consistent. I am humbled and grateful for you to carve in any time to talk to the audience that we have going here, to connect our audiences, to connect with you, man. I miss you. I miss being around you on a daily basis, but through the relationship that we forged, I am honored to know that it's always there, regardless of the physical spacing between us. And I think that at this point in my life and in my career, I need to tell you that publicly. So thank you very much for all that you've done, not only today, not only in the time that we were together side by side, but in the times that we haven't been talking through COVID, or haven't been able to get together through COVID, or have been living in separate countries. This is an amazing human being. It's Jason Dowse. It's a special edition of FIRSTAR Let's Chat. I'll let you take this one to the finish line.
No, and thank you. And that goes for me as well. If you think back to our time in university or interactions, or you standing up to me as a young strength coach who at the time wasn't treated like other staff members in an industry, you always had my back with in regards to that profession and our environment and the athletes that we worked with, and even through our personal life, right? Like we talked about on a recent episode that we had, is you kind of stopping the noise, so to speak, and asking about me in a time where everything was on fire and my life had exploded, and relaying that message of self and having to take care of you. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done in my life. And I'm really, really proud and excited to contribute in any way, shape, or form in helping you, helping your platform, helping your listeners, helping your clients, helping your family, helping your friends, helping anybody continue to move forward, feel better, and live their epic. So thank you. Like I said, I consider you my brother, part of my family. So thank you, man. I love you. I appreciate you.
I love you too, brother. And it's humans for humans. It's Epic, EPOCH. Podcast is Your Epic Life. At live.epic on Instagram. Website is yourepic.com. It's Jason Dowse, creator, founder, human extraordinaire. We'll wrap it up there with the dogs barking on cue. There we go. That's life in a pandemic, living at home. Have a good day. Talk soon. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firstartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firstartherapy.com. CONSULT@firstartherapy.com. On Instagram @firstar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is FIRSTAR Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.